Sir, you need to move. That seat isn't for people like you. The words sliced through gate 29 like a razor. Omar Khalid stood still, his tailored navy blazer catching the unforgiving glare of the terminal lights. His boarding pass read 2A, first class. His neatly trimmed beard and kufi cap told a different story to the brunette gate agents sizing him up. Rachel Denning, mid-20s, her airline smile now weaponized, raised her voice so it carried. These tickets cost $4,800. Are you absolutely sure you didn't stumble across this somehow? 200 passengers turned in unison. Phones slid out of handbags and coat pockets. The mid-morning rush at Chicago O'Hare had just found its spectacle. Omar adjusted the gold cuff links his late father had given him, engraved with delicate Arabic calligraphy, and said nothing. His calm felt sharp, deliberate. His silence was louder than any protest. The unspoken question hung in the air. How does a man stay composed when the world decides his faith makes him suspect? Have you ever been judged not for what you've done, but for the prayer you say before boarding a flight? Rachel's voice cut again, smooth but laced with implication. We've had issues lately with certain people trying to board under false pretenses. I just need to make sure this ticket wasn't acquired improperly. The word acquired dropped like acid. Omar's jaw tightened, almost imperceptibly. His Swiss-made watch, a Patek Philippe, worth more than most cars, glinted under the fluorescent light as he checked the time. "Step aside, please," Rachel said, her tone shifting from fake politeness to an authoritative command. Not for his safety, but for the comfort of those watching. A businessman in a wrinkled suit muttered to no one in particular. Knew something was off. His wife nodded in agreement. Their young son, maybe 8, stared up at Omar with the unfiltered curiosity only children possess. Omar's phone buzzed. The screen flashed. Board meeting, 2 p.m., urgent. He silenced the call without looking. His leather briefcase, handmade in Istanbul, stayed tucked under his arm like armor. 10:30 a.m., 25 minutes to boarding. "Sir, are you listening?" Rachel's patience had evaporated. "I asked you a question." "I heard you," Omar replied, his voice steady, deliberate. "Then you'll understand why I need to see additional identification. Credit cards. Proof of purchase." Around them, the terminal pulsed with noise. The hiss of espresso machines, the echo of boarding calls, the shuffle of restless travelers. But Gate 29 had become a stage, and Omar was its unwilling lead. A woman with silver hair leaned toward her companion, her voice not nearly as hushed as she thought. "They always try to work the system." Her companion gave a knowing nod. Omar, without breaking his gaze from Rachel, angled his phone outward. His thumbs slid across the screen with practiced precision. He was recording. Every word, every glance, every witness to his public humiliation. 10:35 a.m., Eat Gate. The supervisor appeared. Nadia Perez materialized beside Rachel, her gold supervisor badge flashing under the terminal lights. "What's the situation here?" "Suspicious first-class passenger," Rachel said, her voice now carrying the weight of official authority. "Ticket doesn't match his presentation." Nadia's gaze swept over Omar Khalid. The neatly pressed navy blazer, Italian leather shoes, the crisp pocket square, and the prayer beads looped subtly around his wrist. None of it, in her mind, belonged to a man who should be boarding first class. "Not him. We have protocols," Nadia said flatly, "for suspicious passenger behavior." Omar's phone buzzed again. This time he answered. "Not now," he said quietly. "I'm handling a situation at O'Hare." The voice on the other end was urgent enough to catch the attention of a few bystanders. "Should I make the call?" the voice asked. "Not yet." Omar's tone was controlled, almost unervingly calm. He ended the call and returned to silence. The gold cuff links, the ones etched with Quranic calligraphy, caught the light again. No one seemed to notice. 10:38 a.m. Escalation. Nadia raised her radio to her mouth. Security to gate 29. Her voice carried the promise of confrontation. The crowd thickened. Travelers on their way to other gates took detours just to watch. Phones rose like blossoms after rain. Dozens of lenses capturing the same scene from different angles. Omar stood at the center, breathing even, posture upright, a portrait of quiet strength. But his eyes held a sharper truth. A family of four edged closer. The father raised his phone to eye level, live streaming. "You're not going to believe this. TSA's harassing this Muslim guy over his first-class ticket." Comments poured in over the stream. "Typical airline Islamophobia. Call care. This is why I don't fly with them. Sue the airline." Omar didn't glance at the phone. His focus was locked on the unfolding performance in front of him. He was playing a game whose rules only he seemed to know. 10:42 a.m. Security arrival. Officer Delgado strode up with the practiced authority of someone used to making a scene stop dead. His uniform demanded immediate respect. "Passenger Omar Khalid," he read from his notepad, his voice booming across the gate area. Every head turned. Now 200 strangers knew his name. The humiliation was public, deliberate. "I need to see identification," Officer Delgado said. "And I'll need you to empty your pockets." Omar complied with the precision of a man who had been expecting this exact request. From his wallet came multiple platinum credit cards, an Illinois driver's license, and one more item, a sleek black card with minimal text. Officer Delgado turned it over, studying it with a frown. "Sir," he began, his voice uncertain. "That card is mine," Omar said quietly, cutting him off. The crowd leaned in. More phones appeared. Social media feeds began to flood with hashtags. Hashtag flying while Muslim. Hashtag gate 29. Turning the gate into a trending topic. Omar Khalid, successful, dignified, and now on display for the internet's consumption. Yet he didn't shout. He didn't demand. He simply waited. 10:45 a.m. Final boarding in 15 minutes. "First-class boarding will begin shortly," Rachel announced. 3 white passengers stepped forward with their passes. No ID checks. No proof of purchase demands. Not even a question. Omar watched, the smallest flicker of irony in his eyes. His phone buzzed. He glanced down, typed one message. "Execute Protocol 7. The reply came instantly. "Confirmed. Standing by." He slipped the phone away and adjusted his cuff links again. This time, the Arabic engraving caught the light like a signal flare. The gate area buzzed with electricity. Officer Delgado kept glancing at the mysterious black card, his brows knitting. "Sir, I've never seen credentials like this before." "What exactly?" "It's legitimate," Omar said softly, with a certainty that seemed to unsettle the officer more than defiance would have. Rachel stepped in, her voice sharpened by the crowd's attention. "Officer, we can't just let suspicious passengers board because they have some fancy card. Anyone can order one online." The live streaming father adjusted his angle for a better shot. "The security guy's stalling now," he narrated. "This is heating up. The airline's really pushing it." His comments feed exploded faster than he could read. Viewer count 5,000 and rising. 10:48 a.m. Management escalation. Nadia's radio crackled. Supervisor Perez, Regional Manager Thompson en route to gate 29. The crowd shifted at the words. A regional manager meant corporate power. And this was now more than an overzealous gate agent's suspicion. Omar's phone buzzed again. Protocol 7 ready. Awaiting signal. He typed, "Not yet. Let it build." A woman in a designer coat stepped toward Officer Delgado. "Excuse me, I'm also first class. Do you need to see my ID?" "That won't be necessary, ma'am," Delgado replied, embarrassed. "Why not?" she pressed. If you're checking everyone's credentials. Rachel cut in. Just specific situations. Specific how? The woman asked. No one answered. 10:52 a.m. Management arrival. David Thompson appeared, every inch the corporate fixer in a charcoal suit. He had the stride of a man used to being obeyed. What's the situation? He demanded. Rachel jumped in, her voice bright with confidence. Suspicious first-class passenger. Ticket authenticity in question. Refusing to provide sufficient verification. Thompson looked Omar over, his expression cold, calculating. Sir, I'm Regional Manager Thompson. We need to resolve this quickly. We have a schedule to maintain. I understand your position, Omar replied, steady as stone. Good. Then you'll understand why I need to see proof of purchase for this ticket. Credit card statement, receipt, anything to confirm the transaction. The crowd leaned forward, lenses up, ready. Omar reached into his leather portfolio. The movement was slow, intentional, a performance of its own. Every eye followed his hands. 10:55 a.m. The documentation moment. Here's what you need, Omar Khalid said, producing a leather-bound folder from his portfolio. Regional Manager Thompson took it, expecting to see ticket receipts or credit card statements. Instead, the color drained from his face as he read the first page. This is, Thompson's voice faltered. This can't be right. It's right, Omar replied evenly. Officer Delgado leaned in for a closer look. His eyes widened. Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, Omar said. This is exactly what I expected to happen. Rachel snatched the folder from Thompson's hands. Her confident smirk collapsed into open shock. Oh my God! Oh my God! The live-streaming father caught her reaction on camera. Something just happened, guys. The airline staff look like they've seen a ghost. 10:58 a.m. The power shift. Thompson's polished corporate composure cracked. Mr. Khalid, I had no idea. If I'd known. You had no idea because you didn't need to know, Omar interrupted. You made assumptions based on what you saw. A bearded Muslim man in a kufi. Not what you knew. Nadia Perez took the folder next. Her hands trembled as she read. This is impossible. This has to be fake. Call the corporate office, Omar said calmly. Ask them about Omar Khalid. Ask them about the 4 p.m. board meeting. Ask them about Protocol 7. The crowd sensed the shift. Phones captured every expression as airline authority figures scrambled. Rachel's voice dropped to a whisper. We need to call this in. Now. 11 a.m. The corporate call. Thompson's phone call was short but devastating. The crowd could hear his side. Yes, I need to verify Omar Khalid. Yes, I'll hold. What? Are you certain? What? Oh, God. He ended the call and looked at Omar with something close to fear. Sir, I need to speak with you privately. No, Omar said firmly. Nothing private. Everything public. Everything documented. The live streamer's viewer count ticked past 10,000. Comments poured in. Hashtag flying while Muslim is real. They messed with the wrong guy. This is going viral. Thompson tried again. Mr. Khalid, there's been a terrible mistake. No mistake, Omar replied. This is exactly what I was recording. 11:02 a.m. The revelation builds. Officer Delgado stepped forward. Sir, I apologize. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask, Omar said. You assumed. You profiled. You humiliated. All while the cameras were rolling. The gate area had gone silent. Phones stayed trained on him. But the energy had flipped completely. Rachel made one last attempt. If there's been a misunderstanding, we can resolve this quietly. Too late for quiet. Omar cut in. This is public now. He pulled out his phone, typed a single text. Execute Protocol 7. Full deployment. The reply came instantly. Confirmed. All systems active. 11:05 a.m. The final escalation. Thompson's phone rang again. Yes. Right now. All of them? Yes, sir. I understand. He hung up, defeated. Mr. Khalid, I've been instructed to give you full cooperation. Whatever you need. What I need, Omar said evenly, is for this to continue exactly as it has been. No backtracking. No hiding what happened here. The live streamer whispered into his phone. This guy isn't just another passenger. He's someone big. Omar turned directly toward the camera. I'm exactly who I appear to be. Nothing more, nothing less. The question is, why did that make people nervous? 11:07 a.m. The moment before truth. The crowd held its breath. Dozens of phones rolled. The humiliation was documented from every angle. Omar dialed a number from memory. This is Omar. Yes, I'm still at gate 29. Execute the full protocol now. A voice on the other end was loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. All departments, sir? All departments. And patch me through to the emergency board line. It's time. Thompson went pale. Rachel took a step back. Delgado glanced between his radio and Omar, unsure. Omar returned to his portfolio and withdrew a thicker folder, stamped with corporate seals. Since you've demanded documentation, he said, here's what you need to see. He opened it slowly so everyone could witness it. The letterhead was unmistakable. Crescent Air Group, Corporate Headquarters. Thompson's hands shook as he read the first page. This can't be real. Keep reading, Omar instructed. The livestream audience swelled to 15,000. Comments scrolled too fast to read. Rachel grabbed the folder from Thompson. I don't care what fake. Her words stopped cold as her eyes hit the header. Her face drained completely. Omar Khalid, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Crescent Air Group. The gate erupted. Gasps filled the air. Cameras zoomed in. That's impossible, Nadia stammered. Crescent doesn't. Check the tail number on the aircraft, Omar said. Flight 842, Crescent Air Group. Operated under a partnership with their carrier. Thompson's corporate login confirmed it within seconds. Oh God, it's true. 11:10 a.m. The hierarchy exposed. The crowd understood. Omar wasn't just a passenger. He owned the airline. The very aircraft they were boarding was his. Officer Delgado's voice cracked. Sir, I had no idea. If I'd known. You didn't need to know, Omar said. You judged me because I looked like the man you'd pull aside at security. The live streamer's voice was almost giddy. Guys, this Muslim man they've been harassing? He owns the airline. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag flying while Muslim. Hashtag Saggate 29. Hashtag airline fail. 11:12 a.m. The strategic revelation. Omar's phone buzzed. He answered on speaker. Omar, it's Samira from legal. We've been monitoring. How should we proceed? Full documentation protocol, Omar said. Every witness statement, every video, every shred of evidence. Already in progress. We have 18 passenger recordings and airport security feeds archived. Rachel's knees buckled. This can't be happening. It's happening, Omar said. And thousands are watching. 11:13 a.m. Systemic exposure. Ladies and gentlemen, Omar addressed the crowd. You've just witnessed how quickly bias can escalate when someone's faith is judged as a threat. Phones clicked. No one spoke. This isn't just about individuals, he continued. It's about the policies that allow this to happen. Thompson slumped in a chair. Please, there has to be a way to resolve this quietly. Quietly, Omar asked. Like you handled the last 38 minutes? 11:14 a.m. The audit order. Another call came through. Omar, It's the comms team. This is already trending on 6 platforms. Combined views are over 2 million. Expected, Omar said. Schedule a press conference for this afternoon. Rachel sobbed. I didn't know. I was just following procedures. Procedures I never authorized, Omar said. Procedures that violate federal anti-discrimination law. 11:15 a.m. The final power play. Omar looked around the silent gate. You've documented institutional Islamophobia in real time. This evidence will change things. He turned to Thompson and Rachel. You have 1 hour to prepare your statements. Legal will be in touch. As he stepped toward the first-class boarding lane, he made one last call. This is Omar. Execute the full corporate review. Every passenger interaction from the last 6 months. I want it analyzed. Every complaint. Every incident where someone might have felt what I felt today. Understood, sir. Full systemic audit. And schedule the press conference, Omar said. It's time the world knew what really happened at Gate 29. 4 p.m. Crescent Air Group Corporate Headquarters, Conference Room A. The mahogany table stretched like a battlefield. 17 executives sat in high-backed leather chairs, their expressions grave. Omar Khalid entered with the measured stride of a man who now controlled the oxygen in the room. His navy travel blazer had been replaced with a charcoal suit that projected both gravitas and command. Ladies and gentlemen, he began. 6 hours ago, I was publicly profiled and humiliated by our own employees. Today, we address the systemic failures that allowed that to happen. The only sound was the low hum of recording equipment. Every word was being documented. 4:02 p.m. The evidence presentation. Omar tapped a control panel, and the wall-mounted display lit up with the first image. Rachel Denning pointing at him at Gate 29, her face twisted in contempt while dozens of passengers filmed. This, Omar said quietly, is how your employees treat the CEO of this airline. But more importantly, this is how they treat passengers who look like me. The next slide made several executives shift in their seats. 612 religious discrimination complaints in 18 months. 71% involved passengers perceived to be Muslim or Middle Eastern. A 29% year-over-year increase in profiling-related incidents. Only 11% of complaints resulted in disciplinary action. These numbers, Omar continued, don't represent isolated mistakes. They represent system failure. 4:05 p.m. The financial hit. CFO Margaret Chun raised her hand cautiously. Omar, the financial implications. I know. Omar cut in. Let me show you exactly how massive they are. The next slide drew a collective gasp. Federal discrimination lawsuit exposure. $840 million. Class action potential. $1.18 billion. Annual revenue at risk due to boycotts. $350 million. Regulatory fines. $65 million. This morning's incident, Omar said, has been viewed 4.2 million times on social media. The hashtag #FlyingWhileMuslim is trending in 51 countries. COO David Morrison leaned forward. Omar, we can issue a public apology, roll out immediate training. This doesn't have to destroy the company. Omar's tone dropped to ice. David, how many apologies have we issued? How many immediate trainings have we announced? How many times have we made promises we never kept? He clicked again, revealing a timeline of similar incidents stretching back 8 years, each followed by hollow corporate pledges. 4:08 p.m. The systemic rot. Let me read you some internal communications, Omar said, pulling up email screenshots. From Gate Supervisor Nadia Perez to Regional Manager Thompson. Need to keep a closer eye on upgrades. You know the type. From Rachel Denning to a colleague. Another suspicious first-class passenger today. Beard Kufi, the whole thing. They're getting bolder. From Training Director Lisa Park, religious sensitivity training can be reduced to online modules. Most gate agents don't need the full program. The silence was suffocating. Legal counsel Samira Patel finally spoke. Omar, these communications are catastrophic. If they're uncovered during litigation, they've already been uncovered, Omar interrupted. By our investigation. 4:12 p.m., the ultimatum. Omar stood at the head of the table, every eye locked on him. Here's what will happen today. Not next month, not after a review cycle today. The executives leaned forward. First, Rachel Denning, Nadia Perez, and David Thompson are terminated immediately. No severance. Permanent industry blacklisting. HR Director Patricia Williams began. There could be legal ramifications. The liability of keeping them is greater than the liability of letting them go. They're gone. 4:15 p.m. The corporate overhaul. Omar's reform slides hit like hammer blows. Mandatory 40-hour anti-bias and religious discrimination elimination training for all 14,000 customer-facing employees within 60 days. In person, documented. $57 million training budget. Less than a single discrimination settlement, Omar noted. Real-time bias detection technology monitoring all customer interactions with immediate intervention protocols. Creation of a Chief Equity and Religious Inclusion Officer role, reporting directly to Omar, with a $400,000 starting salary plus bias reduction performance bonuses. Executive bonuses tied to discrimination metrics. For every substantiated incident in a department, the responsible senior manager's bonus drops by 10%. Monthly all-hands bias incident reviews. No cover-ups, no quiet dismissals. 4:22 p.m. Legal framework. Samira Patel spoke again. Omar, the FAA requires specific reporting protocols. Already handled, Omar said. I spoke to the FAA administrator this afternoon. We're going beyond compliance. Every bias complaint reported to federal authorities within 24 hours. Murmurs broke out. No other airline had such a policy. 4:25 p.m. Industry precedent. Omar switched the display to a live video conference. 3 screens lit up with executives from Emirates, United, and Lufthansa. They've been watching today's events, Omar said. This is not just a Crescent Air problem. This is an industry problem. United CEO tried to downplay it. Omar, building industry-wide policy changes from one incident is. Sarah, roll the compilation, Omar ordered. Samira played a montage of religious profiling incidents across multiple carriers over the last 2 years. It was damning. This is not one incident, Omar said. This is an epidemic, and I'm ending it, starting here. 4:28 p.m. The competitive advantage. Dignity is not just a moral imperative, Omar said. It's a market advantage. The next slide showed hard data. 76% of travelers avoid airlines with religious profiling scandals. $2.4 billion in lost annual revenue across the industry due to bias boycotts. 88% of passengers willing to pay more for an airline that guarantees dignified treatment. While you defend bias, Omar told the industry peers, I'll market dignity. While you downplay incidents, I'll eliminate them. While you protect problem employees, I'll recruit the best in the business. 4:30 p.m. The final ultimatum. Omar's voice filled the room. You have 48 hours to decide whether you're part of this transformation or an obstacle to it. Question these changes, delay them, or try to minimize this incident, and you'll be replaced immediately. He gathered his notes, then paused at the door. This morning, I was humiliated by my own employees in front of millions. But this is not revenge. This is so that no passenger, Muslim or otherwise, ever feels what I felt at Gate 29. He glanced at his watch. The meeting is adjourned. Implementation begins now. 5:30 p.m. The terminations. Rachel Denning sat stiffly in HR Director Patricia Williams' office. Her Crescent Air Group badge and security cards lay on the desk like artifacts of a career dismantled. Effective immediately, your employment with Crescent Air Group is terminated. Williams read from the official letter. For cause: violation of company anti-discrimination policies, creation of a hostile environment, and conduct detrimental to corporate reputation. Rachel's voice was barely audible. I have a mortgage, student loans. I can't just. Your actions this morning have been viewed 6.7 million times, Williams said flatly. The company cannot retain employees who create federal liability and global PR disasters. The termination letter was merciless. No severance, no references, no possibility of rehire in the airline industry. Nadia Perez received the same treatment 30 minutes later. David Thompson's meeting took longer, but ended with identical results. 3 careers ended before sunset. 6:15 p.m. The public announcement. Omar Khalid stood at a crowded press conference in Chicago O'Hare's Media Hall. Cameras from CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, and dozens of international outlets jostled for space. This morning, Omar began, I experienced discrimination that no passenger, Muslim or otherwise, should ever face. But I'm not here to focus on my personal humiliation. I'm here to announce the systemic reforms that will ensure it never happens to anyone again. He laid out the sweeping changes. $57 million for anti-bias and religious sensitivity training, real-time AI bias monitoring of customer interactions, and executive pay directly tied to dignity metrics. A Washington Post reporter raised her hand. Mr. Khalid, critics will say you're overreacting to a single incident. This isn't overreaction, Omar replied. It's overdue. 6:20 p.m. The data revelation. Omar gestured toward the display screen. 612 formal religious discrimination complaints against Crescent in 18 months. 1,204 similar complaints filed against all major carriers combined. Average resolution time: 147 days. Percentage resulting in meaningful change: 7%. These numbers represent systemic failure, Omar said. Not just at Crescent, across the industry. That changes today, a CNN reporter pressed. What makes you believe your reforms will succeed where others have failed? Because I experienced the problem firsthand. Because I documented it. And because I have the authority to fix it immediately. 6:25 p.m. The technology solution. Omar introduced Dr. Sarah Kim, an MIT professor of AI and Crescent's new chief technology officer for bias detection. Dr. Kim's system analyzes voice tone, word choice, body language from security footage, and passenger feedback, all in real time, Omar explained. Supervisors are alerted within seconds when bias indicators appear. A Reuters journalist asked about privacy concerns. Employees who treat passengers with dignity have nothing to fear, Omar said. Employees who discriminate should fear immediate termination. 6:30 p.m. The industry impact. Omar's phone buzzed. He answered on speaker. Omar, it's Michael from United Airlines. We'd like to license your bias detection system. That's encouraging, Michael, Omar said. What prompted this sudden interest? Our stock dropped 4% this afternoon. Investors are nervous about religious profiling liability across the industry. Minutes later, Delta's and American CEOs called with the same request. The industry was scrambling to join what the media had already dubbed the dignity revolution. 6:35 p.m. The employee response. Messages from Crescent employees poured into the internal portal. From pilot Maria Santos. Finally, leadership that reflects our values. From gate agent Jerome Williams. Proud to work for a company that takes discrimination seriously. From flight attendant Layla Noor. Thank you for protecting all of us. Not all responses were positive. Some worried about excessive monitoring. Those were flagged for additional training. 6:40 p.m. The passenger impact. Marcus Johnson, the man who live-streamed the morning's incident, joined the press conference via video link. "Mr. Khalid, I filmed what happened because it was wrong," Marcus said. "But I never imagined it would change the entire industry." "Marcus, your documentation was critical," Omar replied. "Without witnesses, profiling often gets minimized or denied. You ensured the truth was undeniable." "My daughter asked me why those people were mean to you," Marcus added. "Now I can tell her that sometimes bad moments lead to better futures." 6:45 p.m. The financial vindication. CFO Margaret Chun announced the numbers. Despite the cost of reforms, Crescent stock was up 12% since the press conference began. ESG investors and pension funds were increasing their stakes, citing the airline's leadership on human rights. "Dignity is profitable," Omar told reporters, "and bias is expensive." 6:50 p.m. The cultural transformation. An NBC reporter asked, "How do you make sure these changes last?" "By making dignity profitable and discrimination costly," Omar said. "By promoting leaders who live these values, and removing those who don't. And by remembering that every passenger deserves the respect I was denied this morning." 6:55 p.m. The personal victory. As the press conference closed, Omar's assistant approached. Rachel Denning called. "She wants to apologize." "Too late for apologies," Omar said. "It's time for consequences." 6 months later, the transformation. Religious profiling incidents at Crescent dropped 89%. Dr. Kim's AI system prevented 287 potential bias incidents before they escalated. Other airlines licensed the system, triggering industry-wide change. Congressional hearings on religious profiling in air travel cited Crescent's reforms as a model. Rachel, Nadia, and David never worked in aviation again. Rachel's wrongful termination lawsuit collapsed when the court reviewed the footage and witness testimony. The corporate legacy. Crescent Air became the most religiously and culturally diverse major carrier in the U.S. Employee satisfaction hit industry highs. Stock value rose 67% in 6 months. Its bias prevention program became a Harvard Business School case study. Omar lectured at universities on turning public humiliation into institutional reform. The social impact. Marcus Johnson's livestream became part of civil rights and religious tolerance curricula in U.S. schools. The hashtag #FlyingWhileMuslim evolved into Dignity First, a movement encouraging passengers to record and report bias across all service industries. Hotels, restaurants, and retail chains began adopting Crescent's monitoring protocols. The personal growth. Omar's calm that morning and his precision in the aftermath became legendary. The gold cuff links engraved with Quranic calligraphy, ignored during his humiliation, became symbols of strength. His morning at Gate 29 proved how dangerous assumptions could be. His afternoon in the boardroom proved that changing the system is the most powerful form of justice. Today, every Crescent policy, training, and leadership decision reflects the lesson Omar learned in those 43 minutes. The airline's motto now appears on every boarding pass, every gate display, every employee handbook. Every passenger deserves respect. It's a reminder that dignity is not an assumption, it's a responsibility.